Hi, everybody. I'm here with Mark Kunaseelan, and we are talking about recruiter enablement. So, Mark, thank you for joining me today. Give us a quick introduction to you and your background.
Super. Mark Kunaseelan. I'm head of resourcing at University of the Arts London. Been in public sector for the last several years. Worked in two councils, Parliament, and now I'm in higher education as a space. Started off my recruitment career in welfare to work, which is what exposed me to finding people and working with candidates and employers. Thank you for having me today, Adam.
Tell us about University of the Arts, because I am a like what are the kind of main courses and things like that, just before we go into recruiter enablement, because in the world of like AI taking over a lot of jobs and things like that, I am a massive believer that we're not going to be watching movies with like AI actors. We're not going to be going to Glastonbury and listening to AI music. I think that the arts um are going to become more prominent and exciting career options for people, as other jobs maybe are less so. So what's that all about first?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a really good point. I think some sectors are at risk of AI, and there's a lot of scaremongering going on, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of the online scaremongering. I think arts, fashion, the arts, and creativity. I think my approach is we need to embrace AI. It's going to really help empower and just it. I think it will give us another layer. So if you're looking at, if you're looking at fashion, for example, we've got a lot of students who work with some of the big retailers and luxury retailers on different programs and go on to work for them. AI is going to help that curation process of your designs, thinking outside the box, that generating ideas as well. I think it's really going to help empower rather than put jobs at risk, because creativity needs that human touch. That's something that AI doesn't matter. Even if you're the best prompting person, you know all about the different types of prompts to get the best output, it can't give that human, because it's subjective. Like taste, like fashion in itself is subjective. I think we're a very long way from AI being able to go, we think this is going to appeal to people's taste on your target audience or your sales objectives, whatever it might be. So I think actually looking at the arts, I think arts will probably benefit the most from AI, whereas some other sectors might be more at risk of needing to adapt and change to prevent there being job losses, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really that interested. I am most by far am more interested in every form of art when I know a bit about the backstory of the artists. So humans have got a long way to go in this. Right, tell us about recruiter enablement. What's it all about? And like, yeah, from the public sector perspective, you've seen it from several organizations. What are the nuances?
Well, speak of the time that we've got, I think there'll be similarities with, let's say, SMEs who might share some of the same challenges, but might not be quite aware. So recruiter enablement to me is just about empowering your teams. Those people that are getting involved in the processes, whether you've got recruitment, you work in RPO, you work in talent acquisition, whatever aspect you're working on, do we have the right tools, helping our people, because sometimes you can't pick the people, especially when you move into management leadership. You're dealt a set of cards and you've got to make it work. You've got these objectives, especially in the public sector. Rather than worrying about share prices and the products, it's about people and services. So we need to make sure we find the right people for the right time and for the right costs. And that's what was the resourcing model, which I've mostly been exposed to in my career. And we've often got to deal with tightening budgets. So actually, recruiter enablement, how can we save time, but making sure it's the most efficient with the money that we've got available? So challenges in the public sector, year-on-year public funding has been cut, taxes have gone up, people services gone down. And when you're trying to find the best people, but you don't have the advertising budget anymore, or you need to get an advert out quickly, you need to get a campaign live, go, is this the right approach? Is this the right strategy? Actually, you're finding those tools that are available is diminishing in terms of what's really suitable for us in the public sector. For example, differences between public and private, a lot of the time, we can't compete on salaries. I've done a lot of digital recruitment. I was in Parliament, and developers who could go easily get 120, 130k at Sainsbury's and Google, why they want to come to Parliament for half of that money? And then you've got the brand perception of, oh, do I want to work for Parliament? It's not, it's not sexy, it's not bold, it's not creative, and there's a lot of stigma. So often, let's say if you live in London, Adam, I don't know where you live. Do you live in London?
Yeah, I'm in Scotland. I've
So you're
spent
in
a lot of
Scotland.
I spent a lot of
Hence
time
the
in London,
accent.
but yeah.
Cool. So, traditionally as a resident, you might look at your local service and go, do I want to go and work for a public body? If you've got problems with, I know there's rubbish in the street where I live in Costerdale, Essex. We live in Havering, for example, it's my borough. They almost went pretty much bankrupt a few months ago. Services have gone up. So services have decreased in what they're offering and the quality and the value. Well, how come my taxes are going up, but the services? So straight away, if you're a resident locally, are you going to go and work for there? So the jobs of people working, I think Haven and Newham have a joint service called One Service to handle recruitment, some of shared services, but your job is much harder now to go and find people locally because a lot of councils and places want to recruit people locally, but a bit like businesses, if you've had a bad customer experience, are you really want to go and work there? Are you going to refer and do the advocacy and referrals? So enabling our in public sector, in our in-house, most of it's in-house in HR, having the right tools, that learning, are we training our people in the best way when often, like learning and development might not be suitable. Some of the resources out there are very much geared towards the US or for private sector, but we can't apply those things in public sector. So give an example, everywhere I've worked in public sector so far, we've had like an anonymous selection process. You do your application, normally the world's longest application forms. Some people just want to be able to send a CV across and send it across, but there's biases around that. And how can we enable not just our recruiters, but our hiring managers as well? Because if our recruiters aren't trained, they can give the best advice in the world to our hiring managers. But if our hiring managers also have enablement, they're not enabled to do the job that they need to do. So I think recruiter enablement, just coming full circle, actually extends to hiring manager enablement and also candidate enablement. Are we enabling our candidates? Do they understand why we operate in a way, but kind of that candidate toolkit? Are we helping them to be successful? So I know we're focused on recruitment enablement, but I think there are those overlapping parts, and in the public sector, there's a lack of understanding about why the public sector process is the way it is and what are our restrictions. Hopefully it kind of helps.
Yeah, no, there's a few things that you said. I mean, it's fascinating listening to that. There's a few things that you said that I want to pick up on and go into a bit more detail. So, one is, I mean, I heard it loud and clear. You've got to do more with less. Budgets get cut, and you're having to do more with less. So presumably, at the recruiter level, what that means is they've got less time to fill all the jobs that they've got to fill. So, in order to help them, what you probably have to do is get rid of as many manual tasks that are repetitive and administrative as possible, and probably try and remove as much thinking time about things like, where do I find that asset? Just like, where do I find the things I need to get my jobs done? Is that fair?
Absolutely.
And
So
another one would be, if you're looking to, there's going to be lots and lots of things that your recruiters will need to, messages that they'll need to convey regularly. So, for example, to the people that have had a bad experience with their council and they're like, I don't want to work in the public sector, right? So what's the response to that objection? What's the response to the objection around, you're probably not working on exciting things when you may well be working on exciting things? The problem around, well, the salary's not as good as I would get working in a bank or in a tech company or something like that. So I would expect that. And then that gives loads of opportunity around employer brand and EVP, I think. So putting all that messaging into the hands of the recruiters, is that something you've needed to work on, or is that something for the future, or what's that?
where we are right now, we're just starting that. So I've got a resourcing business partner who we hired a few months ago. She's doing fantastic work. I put in a business case because in my position, I don't have the time to do all my strategic and operational side and spin all these plates that I've got. So she's looking at our benefits and our reward and how we can empower our recruiters, but also our managers as well, to sell that, go on and sell that. Hoping to start an EVP exercise I'm quite fortunate where we are that we've got a really strong brand presence, especially in the arts and fashion and the creative sector. As a university as well, we've got a really great brand. So in terms of brand side, don't really need to do. We've got quite a bold brand. Our branding is black and white, pretty much, quite standard, with a bit of orange as well as a tertiary color. So it's the EVP side we're really trying to focus on. How can we really sell that and translate that? But we need to start doing it per role as well, because some of those individual benefits at a local level, might be different. Like academics, professors aren't going to want to be interested in, I don't know, certain type of benefit because they might have the time. It's just not their interest. They might be more learning about what we're doing in to help, further research. What are we going to do to help them in their growth? So there's a lot of differences in our target audiences, and we've got a diversification target. As everyone does, it's the big thing in recruitment at the moment. So looking at enablement, how are we enabling our recruiters to go and target those underrepresented groups? Do they know where to go and find them? Everyone's doing LinkedIn and or CV search, but actually, is there something else? And it's just about finding those knowledge and tools to help them to achieve what's the objective for this vacancy, but also the department, the team, and organization, and bringing it all together is something I think is a challenge for recruiters, especially in the public, because we've got to, I don't know, looking at university, we're students first, if that makes sense. So the work that we do, we might not be directly involved in, going to teach students, but we need to go and find the right people to teach them. So, yeah, sorry, I could go on and on this subject, but yeah.
Absolutely. Look, thank you very much for all the insights that you've given here. It's been really fascinating to learn about your perspective from the public sector. I would really love to do I think you and I spoke about a couple of things before we clicked record on this, that I'd really love to do a follow-up with you on this in 6 months' time, and see what you've done and what's happened. But Mark, great to see you. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Have a bad day. Thank you. Bye-bye.